In 1996, Nike signed 20-year-old Tiger Woods to a 5-year endorsement deal, reportedly worth $40 million. There was only one problem. Nike did not make golf clubs. When Tiger destroyed the field at the 1997 Masters, the swoosh was visible on his clothing, but the clubs in his bag came from several other manufacturers. His driver was made by Cobra, his irons were Mizuno's, his wedges came from Cleveland, his putter was a Scotty Cameron. Nike had signed the most important young golfer in the world, but it could not yet provide the equipment he used to win. 5 years later, Tiger finally placed a set of Nike irons in his bag. He used them in competition for the first time at a World Golf Championship in Ireland and won immediately. That much is documented, but over the years, the story became surrounded by rumors. Some golfers claimed Tiger's Nike irons were secretly made by Miura in Japan. Others insisted they were merely copies of the Titleist blades he had used before. The real story is both less mysterious and more interesting. Nike did not simply place its logo on somebody else's finished club. It acquired an experienced club development company, built a specialist operation in Fort Worth, and spent years developing equipment that Tiger was prepared to trust under tournament pressure. This is the real story behind Tiger Woods' Nike irons. In August 1996, Tiger Woods arrived at the Greater Milwaukee Open after winning his third consecutive United States Amateur Championship. Nike turned the moment into its famous Hello World campaign. The company's first contract with Tiger was widely reported to be worth $40 million over 5 years, an extraordinary commitment to a player who had not yet completed a professional tournament. Nike co-founder Phil Knight believed Tiger had the potential to change golf, but at that point, Nike's involvement in the sport was centered on clothing, footwear, and marketing. It had no established golf club division. Tiger was therefore free to construct his bag around the equipment he believed gave him the best chance to win. That became especially clear at the 1997 Masters. Tiger won the tournament by 12 shots, becoming the youngest Masters champion at that time. But despite the Nike logos on his clothing, his equipment bag was a mixture of competing brands. He used a 9-degree King Cobra deep-face driver and a Titleist PT 15-degree 3-wood. His long irons, from the 2-iron to the 4-iron, were Mizuno MP29s. From the 5-iron through the pitching wedge, he used Mizuno MP14s. He carried Cleveland 588 RTG wedges, a Scotty Cameron Newport TI3 putter, and a Titleist Professional 90 golf ball. There were no Nike clubs in the bag because Nike did not yet have any to offer him. Tiger's Mizuno irons were traditional muscle-back blades. A muscle-back places much of the club head's mass behind the center of the face. Compared with a larger cavity-back iron, the design generally offers less help on strikes away from the center, but many highly skilled players prefer the compact shape, feedback, and control associated with a forged blade. Tiger was also unusually particular about how his irons looked and performed. Tom Stites, who later led Nike's club development operation, described Tiger as highly sensitive to the shape of the club in the playing position. According to Stites, Tiger paid close attention to the leading edge, the transition into the offset, the shape around the toe, and above everything else, the resulting ball flight. Could he hit the different trajectories he wanted? Could he move the ball at different heights and angles? Those were the questions that mattered. There is no reliable evidence that Tiger could identify a specific half-millimeter difference in a top line, or that he automatically rejected a club because it launched half a degree too high. Those numbers are often repeated in equipment stories, but they are not necessary to explain what made Tiger demanding. The documented reality is simpler. He knew exactly what he wanted to see behind the ball, and he knew what kind of shots the club had to produce. Before Nike attempted to make irons for him, Titleist had already faced that challenge. Larry Bobka, who was then Titleist's vice president of golf club promotion, became involved in developing a blade around Tiger's preferences. Bobka later explained that he met with Tiger and his coach, Butch Harmon, at Isleworth in Florida. They discussed Tiger's current Mizuno irons, what he liked about them, what he disliked, and what Titleist could improve. Tiger's Mizunos were important because Bobka could observe their ball flight and the way they interacted with the turf, but they were not the only influence. Tiger also sent Bobka a set of 1973 Hogan Apex irons. Those clubs had more curvature, known as camber, across the sole. Bobka incorporated additional camber into the developing Titleist design. The process was not a matter of scanning one Mizuno iron and producing a direct copy. Bobka said he created 3 similar sets and allowed Tiger to select his preferred individual club at each position, from the long irons down through the shorter clubs. It was traditional, player-led club development. The early versions used a combination of older Titleist forgings made by Hoffman Products and blank forgings supplied by Endo. Once Tiger approved the direction of the clubs, Titleist created the production tooling for the 681 irons at Endo. Bobka also stated that Miura did not forge the Titleist irons Tiger used. The Titleist 681T blades became closely associated with the most dominant period of Tiger's career. Beginning at the 2000 United States Open, Tiger won 4 consecutive major championships. S Open at Pebble Beach by 15 shots. He then won the Open Championship at St. Andrews, the PGA Championship at Valhalla, and the 2001 Masters at Augusta. The achievement became known as the Tiger Slam. Tiger was not the first golfer to win all 4 professional majors, but he became the first in the modern era to hold all 4 trophies at the same time. The Titleist irons had survived the highest possible test. For Nike to persuade him to change, its clubs could not simply look good in an advertisement. Tiger had to believe they could perform as well as, or better than, the equipment with which he had already made history. Nike's first major equipment breakthrough with Tiger did not involve an iron. It involved the golf ball. In May 2000, Tiger changed from the wound Titleist professional ball he had been using to Nike's solid core Tour Accuracy ball. He first used it in competition in Germany. Within weeks, he arrived at Pebble Beach and won the United States Open by 15 shots, the largest victory in the championship's history. The ball did not create Tiger's performance, but his success gave Nike immediate credibility as a serious golf equipment company. It also established an important principle. Tiger was willing to change equipment, but only after testing convinced him that the new product was ready. Golf clubs were a more complicated problem. Nike did not solve it by starting with an empty room at its headquarters in Oregon. Instead, it acquired an existing company in Fort Worth, Texas. Tom Stites had founded Impact Golf Technologies in 1993. Mike Taylor joined him at the new company. Impact provided engineering, tooling, manufacturing support, and club development services to brands that did not possess those capabilities internally. Stites later said the company worked with more than 100 professional golfers and around a dozen club manufacturers. Nike purchased Impact Golf Technologies in 2001 as the foundation of its move into golf clubs. The Fort Worth operation eventually became known as the Oven. If you are enjoying this deep dive into golf equipment history and tour gear secrets, take a quick second to hit that subscribe button. We cover the untold stories, technical breakdowns, and historic controversies behind the game's biggest moments. So subscribe now so you don't miss our next video. The acquisition brought Nike something it could not create through advertising alone: experience. Stites understood engineering, design, and production. Mike Taylor had a particular ability to work with professional golfers, interpret what they were describing, and translate those comments into physical changes to a club. A tour player might talk about the way an iron entered the ground, how it reacted through the turf, how the face appeared at address, or how solid it felt at impact. Taylor's job was to turn that feedback into changes in shape, weight, and sole geometry. Tiger became his most famous customer, but developing a Nike iron for him was not as simple as measuring the Titleist 681T and producing an identical object with a swoosh. According to Stites, Tiger told Nike that he would consider changing only if the company could prove that its equipment performed better, not merely the same. That gave Nike a clear target. The clubs had to earn their way into Tiger's bag. This development period eventually produced one of the most persistent rumors in golf equipment history: the Miura story. Miura Golf, based in Japan, had developed an almost legendary reputation for forged irons and custom work. A story began circulating that Tiger's Nike blades were secretly Miura irons. According to the rumor, Miura produced the club heads, Nike added its swoosh, and the public was never told where the clubs really came from. The connection sounded plausible, partly because Tom Stites had previously performed consulting work for Miura, but Stites publicly denied the story. He said Tiger's Nike irons were not forged by Miura, and that Nike's tour products did not come from Miura's facility. According to Stites, Nike initially produced base rough forgings through the Cornell Company in Chicago. Those blanks were then then machined into prototypes as part of Nike's own development process. That is Steitz's first-hand account as Nike's former head of club creation. Publicly available information does not provide a complete factory history for every individual set Tiger used across his entire Nike career, but there is no reliable evidence supporting the claim that his Nike irons were secretly finished Miura clubs disguised with Nike branding. Mike Taylor has also described part of the development process in his own words. These were unfinished forgings that gave the club makers considerable freedom to alter the shape and weight while experimenting. According to Taylor, some early hammer-forged prototypes did not produce the impact sensation Tiger wanted. Taylor was not certain whether the problem came from the metallurgy or another part of the construction. He simply knew that the clubs did not feel right to Tiger. That led him to experiment with tungsten. Tungsten is denser than steel, allowing a club maker to place additional mass in a relatively small area. Taylor recalled asking Nike model maker David Franklin to drill into a head so that tungsten and steel could be joined during the prototyping process. Taylor then tested the idea with golfers without initially telling them what had changed. He said players noticed a different, more powerful sensation at impact. Taylor subsequently used the tungsten-loaded concept in a prototype for Tiger, again without first explaining the internal change. According to Taylor's account, Tiger responded positively. This was not a secret completed iron purchased from another brand. It was experimental development carried out by the Fort Worth team, with Taylor and Franklin altering prototype heads to find a construction Tiger preferred. Because this account comes from Taylor himself, it should be understood as his recollection of the development process, not as an independently recorded laboratory report. By September 2002, Tiger was ready to place Nike irons into tournament competition. He chose the WGC American Express Championship at Mount Juliet in Ireland. The timing was significant. The 4 major championships of 2002 had already been completed, although the Ryder Cup was only 1 week away. Tiger's first competitive round with the Nike forged irons began on September 19th. He opened with a 65. By the end of the tournament, Tiger had reached 25 under par. Retief Goosen challenged him during the final round, but Tiger finished 1 shot ahead. He had changed from the Titleist irons associated with the Tiger Slam and won the first tournament in which he used their Nike replacements. It was not a runaway victory, as some later versions of the story suggest. It was a 1-stroke win. But for Nike, the result could hardly have been better. The company's new irons had passed their first tournament test in the hands of the world's #1 golfer. Nike's retail clubs were already available by this point. The company's full line had reached shops earlier in 2002, before Tiger made his competitive switch. That distinction matters because some versions of the story suggest Nike released the retail forged blades only after Tiger won in Ireland. It also matters because Tiger's personal clubs and Nike's retail clubs should not be treated as completely unrelated products that merely shared the same appearance. Tour players frequently receive clubs that have been individually selected, weighted, ground, and assembled. That does not necessarily mean the retail model is fake. In the case of Nike's later Victory Red blade, Steitz said the retail club used the basic configuration Nike had developed around Tiger. Other professionals might receive changes to the leading edge or toe shape, while Tiger's own clubs were prepared for his preferences. But according to Steitz, Tiger established the basic standard for that retail blade. The truth was therefore more nuanced than either extreme. Golfers buying Nike blades were not receiving Tiger's exact personal set, but they were not merely buying an unrelated club disguised to look like his either. Over the following years, Tiger used several generations of Nike irons. The original forged blades were followed by designs including the Victory Red blades and the VR Pro blades. Throughout that period, Mike Taylor and the Fort Worth team continued to prepare and adjust equipment for Tiger and Nike's other tour professionals. Their work included irons, wedges, putters, and prototypes that could be tested before any decision about retail production. The Oven became one of the most famous development centers in golf, but Nike's equipment business did not last forever. On August 3, 2016, Nike announced that it would leave the golf equipment market. The company stopped producing clubs, balls, and bags and shifted its golf focus to footwear footwear and clothing. The decision ended Tiger's 14-year competitive run with Nike irons. It did not immediately end his larger relationship with the company. Tiger continued wearing Nike apparel after the equipment division closed, and the complete Woods-Nike partnership continued until January 2024. The closure of the oven also created a new chapter for the craftsmen who had worked there. Mike Taylor and John Hatfield remained temporarily after Nike's announcement, helping provide equipment support for the company's contracted tour players. In February 2017, Taylor and Hatfield founded Artisan Golf in Fort Worth. Artisan continued the same broad tradition of individual fitting and small-scale club craftsmanship, producing wedges, putters, and irons for professional players and private customers. Taylor's connection to Tiger consequently became only one part of a much longer career in custom club making. He had helped develop Tiger's Nike equipment, but his work did not begin or end with the swoosh. Tiger, meanwhile, needed a new equipment company. In January 2017, he signed a multi-year agreement with TaylorMade. The contract covered TaylorMade drivers, fairway woods, irons, and wedges. Tiger retained freedom over his putter. The specific models were not all decided immediately. TaylorMade and Tiger continued testing and developing equipment before introducing each club into his bag. That process eventually produced the P7TW irons. TaylorMade says Tiger worked directly with its engineering team on the P7TW. The irons were shaped around his preferences, including a longer blade length, a thin top line, and progressive changes in face height. Their soles are CNC machined. According to TaylorMade, the milling process is intended to reduce variations in sole geometry from one head to another and provide more consistent interaction with the turf. The P7TW also uses tungsten weighting. It would be tempting to say TaylorMade simply copied the work Mike Taylor had previously performed at Nike, but there is no need to make that claim. The documented truth is that TaylorMade studied Tiger's requirements and worked directly with him to create another specialized blade. The result followed the same basic pattern seen at Titleist and Nike. A new manufacturer did not simply hand Tiger an existing retail iron and ask him to play it. The company developed an iron with him. That is the real story behind Tiger Woods' Nike irons. It begins with Nike signing a golfer before the company had a golf club operation capable of supplying him. It continues with Tiger winning the 1997 Masters using Cobra, Mizuno, Cleveland, Titleist, and Scotty Cameron equipment, while dressed in Nike clothing. Titleist then developed the 681T around his preferences, producing the blades associated with the Tiger Slam. Nike first gained his trust through the Tour Accuracy golf ball. The company then acquired Impact Golf Technologies, bringing Tom Stites, Mike Taylor, and an existing Fort Worth development operation into Nike Golf. Stites says the Nike irons were not secretly forged by Miura. Taylor says the Fort Worth team experimented with unfinished forgings and tungsten-loaded prototypes while searching for the impact sensation Tiger wanted. In September 2002, Tiger finally put Nike-forged irons into competition. He won immediately. For the next 14 years, Nike's clubs became part of his identity until the company left the equipment market in 2016. TaylorMade later faced the same fundamental challenge and created the P7TW through another direct development process with Tiger. The real secret was never a hidden Miura logo beneath the Nike swoosh. It was the amount of specialized work required before Tiger Woods would place that swoosh in his bag.